I am an American soldier.
I'm a warrior and a member of a team.
I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values.
I will always place the mission first.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never quit.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
I am disciplined.
I am disciplined.
Physically and mentally tough.
Trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills.
I always maintain my arms, my equipment, and myself.
I'm an expert and I'm a professional.
I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the
enemies of the United States of America in close combat.
I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am Army Strong.
There's strong, and there's Army Strong. See what it takes at GoArmy.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Hey folks, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Harden. We are on the same mission, which is waking up America. We just have different paths. So stay tuned for some information on how you can keep up with Richard and all his work.
Visit Richard's website at rahardin.com. That's the World Wide Web at rahardin.com. At his website, you can see a summary of the 6 books he has written, where purchases may be made. He also has a link to 18 videos on YouTube and several blogs about Christian beliefs. If you prefer, visit Amazon.com/Kindle and type in Richard Harden to see and purchase his books.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
The following message contains a special offer for listeners of this station. Are you a man over 40? Are you constantly looking for the nearest bathroom? Do you wake up multiple times a night to use the bathroom? Right now, Perfect Prostate is sending out free bottles of their groundbreaking new formula to listeners of this station. Perfect Prostate Formula was developed by medical doctor Mitchell Fleischer, and its ingredients have been clinically studied to reduce your frequent nighttime bathroom visits and promote healthy urine flow. Right now, preferred customers get their first bottle of Perfect Prostate absolutely free. There's nothing to lose. Perfect Prostate is guaranteed to reduce that constant urge to use the bathroom, especially at night, and promote healthy urine flow. Don't wait. Call now for your free bottle. Just pay shipping and processing. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251. Supplies are limited. One free bottle per household. Call now. Dial 1-800-675-0251. That's 1-800-675-0251.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My name is Jessie. I'm a United States Special Forces widow. This gives me a unique perspective on the world around us. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you how I see it, and I won't pull any punches. This is my POV, which stands for Point of View.
Alright, this is Jessie. How y'all doing out there tonight? You know I miss you when we're not talking. You don't think I do? I promise you I do. I promise. All right. There's actually a lot going on in the world, but I don't want to cover all of it. There's certain things I want to cover and certain things, well, I'm kind of sick of covering. So I've got a special segment tonight, but we are going to get through the news first. Oh yes, I've got my stack of show prep. Don't I always? Don't I always have my show prep? Come on. You think I don't have it? Because you didn't hear it on cue? It was in 2 stacks. I had to grab them both. All right. There has been a lot going on in the world. And if you've been living under a rock, oh yes, under a rock, you will know that we are 9 days away from Inauguration Day. Yes, we are 9 days away from President-elect Donald Trump taking office. Now, for me, this has meant that all the usual places I turn to news sources aren't necessarily putting out all the usual news. In some cases, that's why you haven't heard a lot of audio clips. I can still get the story, but I may not be able to get the audio because, well, some of these outgoing politicians are more interested in packing up and finding that new job than they are briefing people. And I'm very picky about the audio I use. I don't like to just grab it from anywhere. So, now, before I get too far into my show, I got to do a shout out to Scott Harvath. And for those of you who are not familiar with Scott Harvath, he is a retired New York Police Department sergeant battling stage 4 esophageal cancer, and he is amazing. If you haven't already done so, please follow him on Twitter. I check his feed at least once or twice every day. And you're going to ask, why do I check his feed? Well, 1, it's just plain interesting and inspirational. 2, he's a very special guy. I mean, he hasn't given up. He's giving cancer the big fight. He is not going to just roll over. And I love that. And I love people like that. And it makes me realize that no matter what I'm facing in a day, somebody else has got something worse going on. Now, that's not why I follow him. I follow him because I have a love and passion in my heart for those who protect us. That's why we're doing a special segment on the second half of the show today. Not the whole second half, but probably the last 15 minutes. About a paralyzed police officer from New York City by the name of Stephen McDonald. Now, all of you rushing to social media. What? You're not rushing over to a search engine to figure out who he is? Well, don't worry. You'll find out later in my show anyway. Because, no offense, guys, I don't wait for you to figure it out. I try and figure it out first. And yes, of course, I'm still sorting through show prep. All right. Let's see. Where was that Mosul story? Nah, I've got it. It's right here. It's just a question of which one do you want first? All right. There's a new video out. And let me discuss it because I have tracked it down, but I'm not playing any clips from it. I don't want to give the Afghan Taliban any more publicity than they get. The Afghan Taliban released a video on Wednesday showing an Australian and an American hostage pleading with the U.S. government to negotiate with their captors. Now, I will say the Taliban at least got smart enough not to ask for cash, and they're addressing President-elect Trump. And the Taliban has asked for prisoners held at Bagram Airfield and Sharqi Prison on the outskirts of Kabul to be exchanged for these two hostages. Now, props to our Pentagon, because in September they did try and free these people. Yes, they did, but they had bad intel. So, the hostages weren't where they thought they were, so they couldn't rescue them. But the Pentagon is always looking for them. And the Australian was a teacher at American University. And I'm looking if it says... It doesn't say much about the American, but the American family may... Australian teacher Timothy Weeks, an Australian teacher at American University, and his American colleague Kevin King. They were both teachers at American University in Kabul. Alright, so the Taliban has put out a video. They expect us to negotiate and release prisoners on their demand. I'm not so sure that's going to happen, folks. I don't want to see these people die, but I'm sorry. The U.S. doesn't negotiate with terrorists, last I checked. So I don't want to see them starting. Two months after the assault, Turkey's become bogged down in the bloody fight to retake the Daesh group's last stronghold in northern Syria. It's been forced to pour in troops and take the lead in the battle from its Syrian allies and reach out to, of all people, Russia for aerial support. And this is under this fight for Al-Bab. Now, if you recall, we've done shows of force in Al-Bab, but how much support we give the Turks, that is sometimes a sticky wicket, for lack of a term. Translation: sometimes we support them, sometimes we do shows of force, and sometimes we drop munitions. And it depends on day by day, week by week, and what's going on and what the politicians have to say. The battle for Al-Bab has mostly been about killing civilians and destroying the city, whether by Daesh or the Turks, according to Mustafa Sultan, a resident of Al-Bab, and a media activist who's been covering the fight. The town is half destroyed. Daesh takes cover in hospitals, schools, and then these end up getting targeted. The Turkish military says it takes great care not to harm civilians, halting operations that could endanger non-combatants. Capturing Al-Bab is essential to Ankara, the capital of Turkey, folks, goals in Syria. Turkey, which for years supported the Syrian opposition to oust President Bashar al-Assad, has recalibrated its priorities toward fighting Daesh, who turned their terror against Turkey and against the Turkish state and thwarted Kurdish aspirations for autonomous rule along Syria's border with Turkey. If Al-Bab is retaken, it would break the Daesh presence near the border and plant a Turkish-backed presence between Kurdish-held territory to the east and west and prevent them from linking. So Turkey has two reasons to want this strip of land. There's Kurds to the east and Kurds to the west, and the Kurds, as we've discussed on this show, do not have a country to call their own. They are essentially out there flapping. They want a country, can't blame them, but they don't have one. And we've discussed on this show many a time all about the plight of the Kurds. We're talking quite a large number of people that don't have their own country. I think they should. But unfortunately, it's not my call. So, what can I say? So, the battle for Al-Bab has been a contentious one. And it's been definitely a struggle. Like I said, we've supported things, we haven't supported things. It depends on day of the week, who's talking, who's asking, and what's going on, and what resources we have available. So, it has been an interesting thing. For the U.S., the Al-Bab assault risks direct confrontation between Turkish troops and Syrian Kurdish forces, which the Syrian Kurdish forces are leading a U.S.-backed offensive toward the de facto Daesh capital of Raqqa. And of course, we support the Kurds that are taking on Raqqa. We've supported them for years. That's why Al-Bab is kind of a sticky problem. Turkey said Russia carried out 3 airstrikes at Bab in recent days. In the short term, Turkey is likely sending a message to the United States before Trump takes office that it has other options. If Washington keeps backing the Kurds, considered by Turkey as terrorists, linked to a Kurdish faction, sorry, I just lost my place in my notes. It has other options if Washington keeps, basically, Turkey's use of Russian air power instead of U.S. and Al-Bab. They're telling President-elect Trump, we don't have to go with you. Now, remember, there's 2 factions of Kurds. One of them we support. The other one we don't. We've been over this a couple times. I'm not going to go into depth. And remember, Turkey is part of NATO. That's in part. Why? And remember, we are using a Turkish airbase to attack Daesh. Alright. Moving right along. Al-Qaeda ally, an Al-Qaeda affiliate in North Africa, also released a video. The new Proof of Life video showing Swiss missionary Beatrice Stockley held hostage in Mali. She's been held hostage for approximately a year. It's Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, AQIM. It lasts 2 minutes and 17 seconds and has been all over social media. In the clip, a woman whose head is covered by a black veil identifies herself as Stockley. She says the day of the recording is December 31st, 2016. And she has been held hostage by AQM for 360 days. She spoke in French, her voice was barely audible, and her face was blurred out. In late January 2016, AQIM claimed responsibility in a video for Stockley's kidnapping, which they said it took place on January 7th. The group said it would free her in exchange for a number of AQIM fighters jailed in Mali. Switzerland, of course, being who they are, said, "Release her. No conditions. Just release her." Stockley is in her 40s. She's a Christian missionary who was previously abducted by jihadists in northern Mali's Timbuktu. In 2012, she was freed 2 weeks later and opted to keep living in Mali. Okay. I love our missionaries. They do great work. Houston, you've been kidnapped once. You want to keep living in the same area you were kidnapped? Excuse me? Excuse me? Wake up. Smell the coffee. All right. U.S. troops are on the move in Poland. What? Huh? Yes, don't worry. We're not taking over Poland. It's a NATO exercise. U.S. troops, along with 53 tracked vehicles, including the M109 Paladin self-propelled howitzer, reached Poland after a 3-day journey through Germany. The show force falls under NATO's Operation Atlantic Resolve, designed to show the United States' commitment to its European allies in the face of what NATO sees as Russian aggression. U.S. soldiers arrived in a city southwest of Poland, in which a key NATO airbase is located. On Friday, nearly 2,800 pieces of military equipment arrived in Germany, and it's the U.S. Army's 3rd Armored Brigade Combat Team, 4th Infantry Division. The U.S. troops will spend about a month training in Poland before moving to Germany and Romania for additional training exercises. This is one part of the efforts to deter Russian aggression. So, Russia, you may not be happy with things, but we want you to be aware. Poland's part of NATO now. Warsaw Pact is gone. The Warsaw Pact, for those of you who are too young to remember or don't know what I'm talking about, the Warsaw Pact was the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics' answer to NATO. It was a pact of all its countries saying, well, you step one toe over any of our borders, NATO, and we're coming to get you. What can I say? It's been a little bit crazy around here. Now, you think political correctism is restricted to the United States? How wrong you are. A video taken last year has emerged showing Dutch children, as in the Netherlands, at a mosque. And these were primary school children in Holland. And there was a video showing children learning how to pray in a mosque. And the mosque is believed to be the Gulzar-e-Medina in the city of Zawal, which has previously been visited by radical preachers from Pakistan. Among them was M. Nas Nouri al-Siddiqui, who promoted the death penalty for those who insulted the Prophet Muhammad, and once had some very derogatory things I cannot say on air, say about non-Islamic Dutch. The video shows an imam explaining to children how Muslims pray, with all the boys forced to stand on one side of the room while the girls are on the other. The children, most of whom were thought to be Christians, are told to put their elbows on the ground and hands close to your ears. The video was reportedly taken last year, but it has recently emerged after a Dutch MP spotted it and called for schools not to participate in similar politically correct activities. It's unknown whether the children were also taken to a Christian church. So one teacher said his school was visited by education inspectors who questioned why Year 4 classes had not visited a mosque yet. The Dutch national curriculum does say children have to learn the main points about religions which play a big role in the multicultural Dutch society. However, parents are saying, why do our kids have to go to a mosque to learn about the main points? I can see both sides. And such politically correct blunders do not play well with ordinary Dutch voters. On the religious front, Saudi Arabia is cracking down on its preachers. Oh yeah, Saudi Arabia is poised to overhaul the five-decade-old regulations of duties and rights of the mosque, imams, and preachers to bring them more in line with modern times. The move by the Ministry of Islamic Affairs seeks to incorporate people with better religious competencies and knowledge. In the past, there were not enough university graduates in the field, and ministry was compelled to recruit imams and preachers without university-level degrees. However, the situation is different now. Under the new rules, an imam cannot deputize another person to deliver the Friday sermon on his behalf unless the ministry is duly informed. No person is allowed to address worshippers even after the prayers unless he is duly accredited by the ministry. The regulations published by OCAS also stipulate that imams should not allow anyone to conduct fundraising activities at the mosques, regardless of the cause, or to plaster pamphlets on the walls of mosques. Imams must never resort to hostile expressions in their speeches, criticize any country or any person, or take up political or tribal issues. So, Saudi Arabia may be trying to crack down a little bit on the radicalness associated with their mosque. Other things that have brought these changes about. One imam used his Friday sermon to glorify Hezbollah. And as you know, Hezbollah is supported by who? Iran. Did you catch that? Iran. In another case, an imam was summoned by the authorities after he compared worshippers to animals and criticized the care by the state about ruins and history. One imam was suspended from leading prayers and delivering sermons after he used the mosque to host an Eid reception during which a man's sword was held and a man's sword dance was held and worshippers were urged to join it. So, Saudi Arabia is cracking down. They're not the only ones. Salafist preachers in Germany, there's a call for them to be expelled. Now, the Salafist Muslim group is very strict. They are another place that radicalism takes over. Common sense leaves. Salafist mosques promote things such as death for those who insult the Prophet Muhammad and non-Muslims paying extra taxes just to live near Muslims. My, oh my, where's the time gone? Alright, we gotta pay them bills! Oh yeah, we gotta pay those bills. And I will see you on the other side. Just remember,
in these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from the critique of the short story through to line edits on full-length novels. We also offer assistance on generating writers' bios for your websites. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call. But I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-757-2782. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-757-2782. That's 877-757-2782.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
All right, sorry about running a little long on that commercial breaks, folks. It does sometimes take me a minute to get my act back together. All right. Moving right along. U.S. hasn't stopped working on retaking Mosul just because Obama has got one foot out the door. Let's listen to this clip.
Good morning. So as stated, I'm Colonel Brett G. Sylvia, the commander of 2nd Brigade Combat Team 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault. Here in Operation Inherent Resolve, I am the commander of Task Force Strike. We are the 1 Brigade combat team deployed forward here in Iraq.
All right, so that's the 1 Brigade combat team deployed in Iraq. Now, just a moment, I gotta see if I can queue up exactly where I want this to go. Because I don't have it as pre-prepared as I'd like, but we're just gonna take our best guess.
In the fight to defeat ISIL in Iraq. I'd like to make a brief statement about some of the tremendous accomplishments we've achieved together since our arrival here in May, and then open it up to your questions. So as Lieutenant General Townsend described last month, 2016 has been characterized by the counteroffensive. Over the course of this year, this task force found ways to deepen our involvement with our Iraqi counterparts. Their success has been our success, as we have been working very closely with one another. I've gotten many questions about what the Advise and Assist mission actually looks like on the ground. I'd like to give you a short vignette to answer this particular question. We were recently visiting one of our forward advisory teams at their joint command post on the outskirts of Mosul. Captain Dan Fitzgerald and his team advised the commander of the Iraqi Emergency Response Division. When we arrived, they were in the middle of processing a strike. Inside this small command post, I saw Iraqi officers and coalition soldiers huddled around a very small monitor. The Iraqis were talking on their communication devices, and we were on ours. They had identified a threat with a coalition ISR platform, and together they were working a strike to eliminate that threat before it reached the friendly forces.
All right, so that's an inside peek at what Advise and Assist means on the ground. All right, moving along. As I promised, remember, I do a short show on Wednesdays. All right? As promised, I am going to cover an amazing New York police officer who passed away the other day. Steve McDonald, a New York City police officer, was shot by a 15-year-old boy in Central Park in July 1986. He was paralyzed from the neck down. However, he forgave his assailant, hoped for the youth's redemption, and remained in the public eye for his spirit in the face of adversity. All right, this man could have easily just said, I've been shot, I'm rolling over, I'm playing dead, bug off world. He didn't. In plainclothes, a plainclothes police officer, when he was shot, McDonald remained on the police department's payroll afterwards as a first-grade detective, at times appearing at roll calls and offering support for wounded warriors. His son Connor, who was born 6 months after the shooting, is a sergeant with the New York Police Department and represents the fourth generation of the family to serve. 4 generations of one family wearing blue. Officer McDonald was 29 with 2 years on the force when he and his partner were on patrol on July 12, 1986. They stopped 3 boys who had been reported to be loitering near boathouses at the north end of Central Park. McDonald was taken to Bellevue Hospital July 12, 1986 after he was shot. So all 3 boys were arrested after the shooting. The shooting drew wide public publicity because of the grievousness of McDonald's injuries, the young age of the gunman, and the callousness of the act. His tragedy reached the Oval Office. President Ronald Reagan phoned the officer while he was recovering at Bellevue Hospital in Manhattan to wish him well. Mr. Jones was convicted of attempted murder in the summer of 1986. Officer McDonald sent stamps and a box of stationery to Mr. Jones along with a note saying, "Let's carry on a dialogue." He later met with Mrs. Jones' mother, the person who shot him, and attended services at a Baptist church in Harlem with his grandmother. So like I said, he could have said, that's it, I'm done, game over. He didn't. And he wasn't ill. And he wasn't bitter. McDonald made many public appearances. He was honored by the Rangers. He was honored in hockey. He was amazing. He passed away of a heart attack yesterday. All right, let me get the rest of the story sorted back out. Not everything always prints out the way it should. On some days when I'm not, this is a statement read by his wife when he expressed forgiveness for the teenager who shot him in Central Park. And this was shortly after his shooting. On some days when I'm not feeling very well, I can get angry. But I have realized that anger is a wasted emotion, and I have to remember why I became a police officer. I'm sometimes angry at the teenage boy who shot me, but more often I feel sorry for him. I can only hope he can turn his life into helping, not hurting people. I forgive him and hope he can find peace and purpose in his life. He was trying to prevent a robbery at the north end of Central Park. The shooting, like I said, the shooting was wide covered. He's been at many things, such as his son's promotion to sergeant. He's been honored by so many people. I don't even have the time. I'd have to do a whole hour, and I may eventually have to do that. Detective Stephen McDonald, an NYPD police officer who inspired others by forgiving the teenager whose bullet left him a quadriplegic and overcoming his disabilities to remain an active cop, died Tuesday at North Shore University Hospital in Manhasset. McDonald, a Malvern resident, died at approximately 1:09 p.m. following 4 days on life support after suffering an apparent heart attack. Mayor Bill de Blasio praised McDonald for being the city's greatest example of heroism and grace. Officials said a full NYPD funeral was planned for 9:30 a.m. Friday at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Manhattan. Cardinal Timothy Dolan, a close friend of McDonald, will officiate. A public wake is planned for Wednesday and Thursday at St. Agnes Parish Center adjacent to St. Agnes Cathedral. Hundreds of officers gathered Tuesday at Manhasset Hospital in the hours before McDonald's death. For about 2 hours, cops filed into McDonald's room to say goodbye. Like I said, he didn't give up. He fought. He fought hard. And that is the same fight I believe Scott Harvath is trying to do against cancer right now. This man was honored by the Yankees, the Islanders. Sports for him, his son, remember, his son was born 6 months after he was shot. Was his son sitting on his lap watching these things? The Rangers, I believe, have a trophy named after him for the hardest fighting player of the year. Yes, he's that amazing. Now, let me see if I normally play taps for fallen heroes, and while he is more than worthy of taps, I'm looking to see if I've got one other thing queued up, because he is worthy of Amazing Grace as well. Give me just a minute to see if I can get it queued up real quick. Detective McDonald and Scott Harvath, in my mind, I can't find Amazing Grace, but let me continue. Detective McDonald and Sergeant Scott Harvath, you are truly 2 of NYPD's finest. And McDonald rushed to the chapel where the first 9/11 victim, if you can recall, which was the New York Fire Department's chaplain, was taken. He rushed there to comfort the firefighters and to be with them because it was what he could do that day. So even though this man was in a wheelchair, when things went crazy, he still responded, even to 9/11. And that is something, I'm sorry. It is just without parallel. Now, before I sign off, you can follow at Scott Harvath on Twitter, at Scott Harvath, SOCTHARVATH. Socctharvath. Sorry, I'm a Brad Thor fan. I was leaving out the second T. Unfortunately, you will no longer be able to follow the pursuits of Detective Stephen McDonald, who has inspired many, including his own son, who is now the 4th generation in blue in his family. Detective McDonald, thank you for your service to New York and the world.